Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Man United Agenda Nights. Let's pretend it's 10 o'clock and we're not like 3 minutes late, but it's also the 10th of January, and I'm delighted tonight to be joined by my friend and yours. It's Tyrone Williams from chat. Tyrone, what's going on?
Not too bad. Just finished a 5-day working week, which was quite tough. But I'm on holiday for a few weeks now, so just gonna look forward to that.
Yeah, and well, we got a lot to look forward to tonight. Obviously, it's transfer window. There's loads and loads of stories going around. But the one I think I'd like to start off with is in Amorim's press conference today. He's spoken about who the starting goalkeeper will be this weekend.
Okay, I didn't see the press conference, so you have to enlighten me a little bit.
It's Bayinda.
Oh wow, I'm a bit surprised by that.
Yeah, Bayinda is going to start against Arsenal. Now, what do you think about the idea of a kind of cup goalkeeper?
I think if you want to win games, I don't really like it because I think you should always have the keeper that you can rely on. I don't know. After the last game I saw in the play, I wasn't really convinced by him. But if the manager's going to play faith in him, I mean, I'm going to back Amorim no matter what because he's the manager and he knows better than we do. But I was really worried after that last performance. The mistakes didn't fill me with confidence.
Yeah. Well, before we get into it, where are my manners? I need to say hello to the people that come to watch us at this time. First of all, we got Steph. Good evening, everyone. I hope everyone is warm and well. Yes. I was going to say yes, sir, then. Yes, ma'am. All right, Bilal has fallen to the power of Stephanie and has given us an early like. I hope you're doing well, Bilal. And look who it is. It's the spiritual leader of the Manchester United agenda. It is Solo. Big up, everyone. Please no, not the goon bugs. If he goes there, they will win the league. I haven't heard this expression before, Tyrone. Do people in London call Arsenal fans goon bugs?
No, we used to call them Gunners when they were a good team, and then they became Gooners. So
Okay.
I think that's what it was. Goon bugs. I've only just heard that recently. I've not really heard it before.
All right. Well, Bilal has commending you on your shirt. What season is that?
I'm not sure. My brother got it for me. I think it's 2 seasons ago. The team viewer one.
Yeah.
I got the Scott Dragon one for Christmas, which is better.
Yeah, I just like I'm a sharp view cam kind of girl. That's the shirt that I like. We deserve better. What a fabulous panel. Hello, Bartham and Tyrone, and the fabulous incumbents of chat. Hello to you. We deserve better. Hope you're doing well. Turkish Taibi is Bayinda. He'll be starting. Bayinda was complaining about hands on him from that corner goal, and we are playing hands on corner specialists Arsenal. Yeah. I kind of agree with that. I'm going to pop the link in chat. Mr. B might be coming, but I think that he's enjoying himself this evening at some sort of dinner. So if we know you, you can pop on and you can have a chat with us. Obviously, please behave and don't say anything that will get us sued. Or at least if you do say something that will get us sued, make sure it gets out there. No publicity is bad publicity. All right. So Bet has brought up corners. Are you concerned about this with Bayinda, especially after that Spurs debacle?
A little bit, yeah, because this is something that Arsenal prided themselves on now. They used to be like Arsenal were always a team that could get the ball down and play it, but now they're just relying on set pieces. So we're gonna have to be really careful with that.
Yeah, I know. I sort of feel that Arsenal have they've become over reliant on set pieces, as it were. Like they're so good at them that they seem to be playing for them. Like I don't know, Rory Delap and throw-ins for Stoke, and we're just shocking at corners, isn't it?
I know, but if you're Arsenal and you've grown up with the team that was like the Invincibles, I think this is a bit beneath you. You should be a bit ashamed of this. Don't you think?
Really? Do you think they're getting away from their cultural roots?
I think so, because Arsenal have never been known for set pieces. Like you never. How many times did you see the greatest Arsenal teams score from crosses? It's always like the ball through the line of the defence, isn't it? Really. So I don't know. I
Could
think
you
they're
say the
starting to
same
be
about
playing a bit
us?
deeper.
Where's the
To be
where's the
honest, I think
directness out wide? Where's the like we always used to have
I think
amazing
yeah,
players.
I think Ahmad's the only one I can look at, to be honest with you, and say that he attacks the fullback and he's willing to run at people. I think the other players don't really do it that much. I think they like to cut in and shoot too often. So yeah, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
I mean, like for me, also one of my favourites. It's Matthew Bassett. Hello, Matty. Look at this straight away.
uh,
No Mr. B.
um,
No, Mr. B will be joining later. I hope, Matty, but I hope that you're doing well as well. Um, I mean, like when you look at a sort of United team, I always kind of think that like you have pace, flair, skill out wide, and
yeah.
then really hard workers all over the team, and a really good goalkeeper. And I just don't think we've got any of that at the moment with the new formation.
I think I'm not going to be harsh on Onana because I think he hasn't been that bad this season, but I don't think he's good enough long term. But I think for me, if I was looking to bring people in January, I think we need a left wing back. I think that's the most important position. And if Rashford goes, which I think he will do, I think we need someone on the left wing to replace him. But it doesn't look like it's going to be Kvaratskhelia, so I don't
Yeah,
know
you're a
what to
big
think,
fan
man.
of
I'm
him,
feeling
aren't you?
hard. Yeah, he's one of my favourite players from Italy at the moment. I'll be gutted if Liverpool get him. Though. I'll be. Oh.
What do you like about him?
I just like how he takes people on. He's just a little bit of a maverick for me. Like, like when you used to see Pires at Arsenal or you see Jack Grealish when he was at Aston Villa. He's like that kind of player,
Mm.
someone who can take people on, and he's got a really good shot on him as well. He's just my kind of player. That's the kind of player that I like to watch.
Would you have him as a 10? Or well, it's a
I
10 and a
would.
wing back, isn't it?
I'd like him as a 10, but the problem is, I don't know, it'll be difficult because I'd like to see him play alongside Bruno. I'd like to see that link up between him and Bruno, to be honest. Like Bruno playing him in, but I don't know.
Well, we see that with Garnacho, don't we, in a couple of games? Like, I mean, I like Carrot Scavelia. I like the Carrot Boy. I think he's good, but I'm a bit scared of players from Serie A because I just remember Pogba and what Pogba was doing, and a lot of it was about his physicality. He was moving men off the ball, he was shielding it, and he came to the Premier League and he just couldn't do that anymore. And it's not just him; it's players like Crespo, Shevchenko. Like, there's been a lot of attackers that have come from Italy, and that slight increase in physical level is really they found it difficult to cross over. I mean, I genuinely can't remember the last player that came from Italy that's done really well in the Premier League as an attacker.
No, but Pogba used to annoy me though, half time, because sometimes I'd see when he was on it, he had the ability to bounce people off the ball. He just wasn't on it enough. I think if he had the right attitude and mentality, he could have been a really good player for us. But there were too many like outside distractions. I think that's the main reason I'm disappointed with Pogba because we didn't get the best of him, and I know he had it in him. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, look, I just want to before we get on to a player that left 3 or 4 years ago. I want to say hello to one of my favourites. It's Luan France. Um, Luan is a mainstay of our sort of one of our sister channels, one of our friends, the Football Power Hour with Botswana Pappy. I think we're actually accidentally going up against Pappy tonight, but I can't recommend that channel highly enough. Like if you enjoy banter and messing about and people screaming, and I love all those things, it's the place for you. And we're on 10 likes. Right, Agile has just come in with Florian Wirtz, 100 million. Right, that's not happening. All right, let's talk about Sir Marcus Rashford. So I had a little look earlier, Tyrone, and he has been linked with these clubs: AC Milan, Juventus, Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, West Ham United, Tottenham Hotspur, and Monaco.
Wow.
Now, Only club I don't want him going to is Barcelona.
Okay. Why is that?
Because I am not sure that you can trust Barcelona to pay their bills.
Yeah, I hear that. But I've heard. I don't know if it's right, but I saw this could be like wrong, but I saw that they're willing to pay his wages while he's there, like in full. But maybe that's wrong.
I mean, do they have they paid Frankie De Jong's wages? Like what? I mean, what? Barcelona, man, they're just a joke.
Well, that's a lot of people said he didn't want to come to us, but one of the main reasons he wasn't going to join United was because Barcelona owed him some money and they hadn't paid it. So that's one of the reasons why we ended up missing out on him. It wasn't simply because he didn't want to come and join Ten Hag. It was because Barcelona
I'd
owed him money.
I'd love to have seen that alternate universe where Frankie De Jong was playing pivot against Brentford instead of Eriksen, and just see how things turned out because
It could have been good.
I don't know.
It was very
But then again, he'd have got bloody injured, wouldn't he? Like within a couple of weeks, never see him, and we got Eriksen at number 10, and we're leaking goals. All right, in chat, tell me what you're thinking about Rashford. What price you want? Like if we should take a hit on a loan, if we should just try and get money now. Like what are you all thinking? Like Tyrone, tell me what you're thinking in terms of what is the minimum that you would accept as an offer. Like you're head to Manchester United now. You're wearing the shirt. Like the fax machine is buzzing. What are you throwing in the bin? What are you keeping?
What if there was like a concrete offer of cash? I mean,
Well, yep, but like think of all the parameters, like loan with an obligation, loan with no obligation, wages paid, like how much they're willing to pay, both wages and transfer fee.
for me, it would have to be a loan move with an obligation to buy, and I'd be willing to accept 45 million for him. Maybe
As
that's a bit
much as
low.
that.
Uh, that would be minimum, yeah. I wouldn't expect 70 million for him. Like I say, about 45 mil. I think that's
I
fair.
I think you're in cuckoo land if you think that we're selling Rashford for 45 million. I mean,
No,
first,
but it depends. It depends if he has a good loan. Remember, I mean, he might hit the ground running. He might be reborn.
well,
He might be reborn.
I mean, Jadon Sancho got to the final of the Champions League and did pretty well, and we sold him. Well, we kind of arranged to sell him for, is it 25 million for Sancho?
Wow, that's a
And he was a 70 million pound player. And you're telling me 45 for Marcus Rashford, who's a lot older.
I think on his day he's better than he might not be IQ of Sancho, but on his day, like when he's running past him, he can be quite good. But yeah, maybe I'm being a bit optimistic.
I mean, I was more in the minimum of about 20 million, to be perfectly honest. I'm quite surprised that you've gone
What about
for
30?
45.
What about 30 mil?
I'd take 30, absolutely.
I think 30 is maybe more realistic. Now.
There's very few players that I wouldn't sell for 30 million in the Manchester United squad, to be honest.
A lot
Like,
of this. Really.
I, th-
We've got so many bad players off terrible.
I know. Right, let's do some comments before we shit on our players a little bit. Matty's going Rashford 30 to 50 million. That's a huge amount, Matty, because the difference is 20 million, which is 2/3 of your initial starting price. So I think that you've either got to drop the price or raise the floor there. Right, this is an interesting one. This is what I think is going to happen: loan with a fee and the wages paid. So if you remember with Sancho.
Yeah.
I think we actually did really well out of that loan because they got to the Champions League final. I think we might have made. I mean, we deserve betters here, and he's now like connected to Google constantly. But I think we made about 2 million extra from the loan fee because they got to the Champions League final. And I would like to see something like that, where not, kind of like doubling in. So if we're loaning him, we're doing it to show he's got fitness, he's got attitude, he can play in a different league, he's performed well, drive his price up. But also, we also make more money if he does well, and his wages are covered. I'd be a fan of that deal. Reads wants him sold just to end the headlines and free up a squad place to buy a player. Kind of a clean break would be nice, wouldn't it, Tyrone?
I don't blame him. I'm just fed up of him, to be honest. I'm fed up of all the negative headlines. He's becoming like Pogba Mark II. Just leave. I wish you well, but go. Leave.
I mean, because I'm constantly exposed to Mr. B. I always sort of think that people see Rashford as a bit of a favourite son, because he's the most exciting player, I think, since Giggs. Maybe you could argue Greenwood, but in terms of Gary Neville wasn't an exciting player, was he? Or Nicky Butt and things like this. But Rashford set the blood racing. I mean, how did you feel about him a couple of years ago? Has things changed?
When he first burst onto the scene and scored those goals against Arsenal, I thought, yeah, we've got a good young player on our hands. And then, over the past few years, he's just, I don't know whether the hype has got to his head or whatnot, but he's just changed. He's got a bad attitude on the pitch. I don't know, maybe.
Sorry,
it changed once he sort of got his new contract. His attitude just...
Do you think that's? Are you with Yabba, where you think the hunger has gone from him and he's
100%.
I know. I always think that we miss one of the big problems with United is not just the lack of leaders that enforce this culture. Where I'll give you an example. On the United agenda, Mr. B goes absolutely crazy at me when I do the descriptions, and I just put in song lyrics from cartoons that I like, because we're not being good enough, and so that makes me raise the stakes. But it's also that there's no one there to replace Rashford. I always remember this quote about Alangi, who I know only me and Solo rated Alangi, Alanga. This is United, and now you've seen him go off and perform pretty well for Forest, but. There was a quote that came out about how a senior player, said that Alanga was Ragnick's teacher's pet. And I always felt that was Rashford, and he was kind of diminishing Alanga because Alanga represented a threat to him. And for me, Rashford's place isn't under pressure enough. And if you've got those fat wages, there's no one there shouting at you, and you're not scared of the players coming through. I can't help but feel you stagnate.
I remember the same thing happened with Martial when LVG left, because there was an interview where Martial was speaking about LVG and said, "Oh, he really frightens me. That's why I'm always on my game." And as soon as Mourinho came in, he just went downhill. I think some players, they need to not have fear for their manager, but they need to respect them, And we've had a lot of managers come in, Oli, Ranieri, the players just don't respect enough.
Yeah, and they've all said that Rashford in various ways has given them problems. I remember it was Atalanta, I think, in the Champions League, where in the press conference, Ole had to kind of apologise to Rashford for comments that he made. And do you remember that?
When that happened, I just looked at Ole and I thought, as a player, you were ruthless. You would look at a team and say, how much did you cost again? Because he did the same thing. He did the same thing to Rio Ferdinand when he got past him a bit too easily. He said, "Oh, what? Are you sure you cost 30 mil?" But then you're there apologising to Marcus Rashford. I lost a lot of respect for him when he did that.
Crazy. Well, look, Matt is saying he wants a full transfer or loan with obligation to buy. So he's saying that there's got to be an end. You know what I mean? It's done.
You can't have him coming back. The problem is, though, you see on Twitter a lot of people saying, "Oh, look how many clubs want Rashford. It's a disgrace that we're letting him go." They just can't. A lot of fans just cannot bear to see him leave, and I just don't get it.
Just block him.
Yeah,
they're idiots.
Yeah.
If you want Rashford to stay, you're not an idiot. But if you're basing it off the fact other clubs are interested in him, that is, you know, like you don't stick with your girlfriend because you notice that other blokes are looking at her, do you? I don't know. And neither does this man. But he says that Rashford has more credit in the bank than Sancho. And I kind of disagree and agree because Sancho's numbers at Borussia Dortmund were incredible. But then again, Rashford has really performed in the Champions League, certainly in the group stages a couple of years ago. I think Rashford. Yeah, you think Rashford's got more in the bank?
No, I disagree. I think Sancho was unlucky. I think Ten Hag was. I don't think Ten Hag treated him very well. I think he could have been good for us, but for some reason Ten Hag didn't want to give him a chance. Sancho. Obviously, I didn't like how Sancho went about it, like coming out in public and disrespecting the club and stuff. But
no, I actually agree with Sancho on that one. Like,
yeah,
what Ten Hag was a complete melon for what he did, which is that he wasn't thinking about what he was saying. It was against Arsenal. Sancho wasn't involved in that game. He started saying he was a bad trainer. That is like that's damaging future earnings of a player, like driving transfer fee down. It was a really stupid thing to do, and I agree that Sancho kind of threw his toys out of the pram, but I would have advised him to throw his toys out of the pram because that was ridiculous for your manager to do that.
When I look at what he did with Ahmad as well, not giving him the right amount of chances, I thought, I've backed Ten Hag a lot, but you know what? Thank God he's gone. Thank God.
And to be fair on Ahmad, most of his managers haven't liked him. Like Ragnick, Ollie, I don't know who was at Rangers, but they all didn't really trust him. And I think that Ahmad is a lovely boy and he's really fun, isn't he? Like, have you seen that picture of him doing Rashford's celebration behind Rashford? And he looks like he's like an 8-year-old. We all love Ahmad because he's smiley and he's nice and he's got, he's the one player that you kind of think, come on, let's do something. But managers haven't liked him.
I don't understand why they don't like him because he works a lot harder than all the other attackers, so I don't get it.
I think
look at the way he intercepts people. Sorry, look how he brings the ball back.
Maybe, but like in front of him, I suppose you had Greenwood, and then Anthony came in, and it might have been politics. But speaking of politics, Luan is a fan of Manchester United because of Marcus Rashford, and this is something that I think sometimes we forget that the flair players, So someone like Luan loves Rashford, and he's what got her into Manchester United and into the family, as it were. And I think sometimes people forget about that kind of stuff. Like my friend Kay Galapo, he's told me that because I ask him a lot about Nigeria, because I'm absolutely fascinated if Bolton Wanderers are like massive in Nigeria because of JJ Okocha. But it's they were all Arsenal because of Kanu. But when Igalo signed, he said that it was like everyone was finally able to be free. They were able to come out as Manchester United fans, and I think for us who we're so contained in London or Manchester or whatever, we kind of forget that these players sort of transcend across countries and things, and we've got to kind of remember that people like Rashford, the relationship people have with the club, can sometimes just be off the fact that a little boy came on and scored 4 goals in 2 games. And never forget, do you play FIFA?
No, I'll be honest with you, I was always a Pro Evolution Soccer guy. I've played FIFA, but I can't stand it. I don't like the gameplay. It's rubbish.
Oh dear. But I agree, I don't play anymore. But do you know who Alex Hunter is?
Yeah, the career mode kid.
Yeah, they put a story mode in FIFA based off Marcus Rashford. Yeah, so you got to kind of remember that Rashford was massive. All right, so Steph has timed herself out because she's annoyed Luan by going in on Rashford. This is another story. Andre Herrera has gone to Boca Juniors. Um,
Wow.
and one of the strangest transfers I've ever seen was Daniel De Rossi went to Boca, like the Roma
Yeah, I
player.
didn't know you. I didn't know you went there.
Yeah, he went out there.
Oh,
Like, obviously, I've of course, Tyrone, I've lived in Buenos Aires, but
yeah.
it's honestly it's a hell of a place. And Andre Herrera, I know he left on a free, but he's the player that I look back fondly on. I always felt he
I
got
was glad when
United.
he left. I was really upset when he left Man United. A lot of people would say to me, "Oh, he's bang average," but I didn't think he was bang average. I really liked him as a
Oh,
player.
we'd absolutely need him. Agile Beast. The club needs to pair him with another player, show him around town, and get him to stay clear of nightclubs. It's interesting that you say that, Agile, because I think when Sancho went to Borussia Dortmund, Erling Haaland was appointed as his kind of friend. And when when we get foreign players into the club, I always think like that we should give their like we should hook their wives up or something to talk about schools and where to do shopping and just help them out. I know Manchester City do this, and with Sancho, people knew Sancho wasn't the most professional, and I really wish that we managed our players a little bit better like that, like give them more of a chance. Because I mean, I don't like you're. I mean, obviously, Tyrone, you're originally from the northeast of England. You're a Middlesbrough boy through and through. Was I mean, if you were like, did you need someone to show you around the south of England, get you used to the culture?
I moved there. I moved to London at a young age. But what was weird was like my accent. It took a while for that London accent to come in. And I think a lot of the kids in school used to look at me like I was weird because I had this northern twang going on. But
You
thank
have
God.
like that kind of, that rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah. Makes me cringe if I look back at old videos. Well, thankfully they're not around no more. But yeah.
All right, Ark. Honestly, I love this new arc for We Deserve Better. He's now like sort of my stats guy. Like you just ask him a question and he just comes in with the figures. So, 3.5 million. Okay, let's say 3 million. So 6.4. So yeah, so we made. I think we made about we doubled like the fee on Sancho because of how well he done. I'd like to see us do that again with Rashford. Here's a good one: the apologist assassin. Thank you so much for joining us, Luann. Always a pleasure to see you here. And here's it's just a completely different view from Luann. It's the Cake Cadet. Do you know Cake Cadet?
I've seen him on the show. He's spoken in the chat a few times. I don't know
Yeah,
him.
he's like honestly, he's from a long like his bloodline is full of haters, and he is the culmination of it. He hates this team more than anyone I know, and I don't disagree with you to be honest, Kate Cadet. There's a lot to hate here, but he is really happy that Rashford is leaving. And
Not as happy as me, but he's happy.
are you happy as well?
I am. Yeah, I am happy. You know what? I like when he first came onto the scene and he scored his goal and he had his first interview. I thought, wow, I'm gonna get behind him. I was really happy for him. And then it's just gone sour, and just can't wait to see the back of him half time. To be honest,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say anything.
I like because like look here. Whose fault is it that Rashford didn't fulfil his potential? And I'm going to give you a crazy take here. All right, no shouting at me. But I'm not sure Wayne Rooney fulfilled his potential.
No, he didn't.
Yeah,
Had a
but I
great
mean,
career.
he's won everything he won everything for us. He's our record goal scorer. I mean, you can't ask anything more than that. But I just feel that baby elephant that I saw at Euro 2004, that is the best 17-year-old since Pele. Maradona, Ronaldinho, Messi, Ronaldo, none of them are close to Rooney at that age. And
Do you think he's better than? Do you think he's better than Ronaldo at the same age?
Yes,
At that
without
point.
question. I think the only player
Yes,
it's only Pele I think is better than Rooney at 17. Genuinely, like
I think R9 was pretty good, but he came in a bit later. They wanted to save him for the '98 World Cup.
maybe I mean R9 at 17. I think he might have been moving to PSV. I'm not completely sure about that, but like R9 at 19 was better than Rooney, but I don't know about 17. We got Chat Sport. Good evening to you, sir. Yeah. Now this is what I actually wanted to get to. With Rooney, he didn't reach his potential because maybe injuries and lifestyle, but mainly because he was doing a job for the team.
Yeah,
With
left on it.
with Rashford, right? What always puzzles me is we were going to have a lineup of Rashford, Martial, and Sancho. That was like Ollie's. Can you think of three more introverted players than those three? It, do you know what I mean? Like you think it's. I always felt that when we talk, like when Matty talks about whose fault is it that Rashford didn't fulfil his potential, number one, without question, is it's Marcus Rashford. Right, without question, it's up to you to fulfil your potential. Like you. But I think that we never that the reason he didn't fulfil his potential and the reason that Greenwood went a little bit off the rails, or a lot off the rails, depending on your point of view, and Pogba never really got his form down, is because I think our club culture just isn't. It's not good enough to really drive you to that level to become a top footballer. Like Dwight York was wildly unprofessional, But if he wanted to play, he had to be professional, because of what was around.
I think Klopp described it perfectly when he had an interview with United and he met Woodward. He said going to United it was like going to Disneyland. They were talking about all the money they could make from commercial things rather than the football. And that's the problem with Man United. They become too commercial, not worrying about the trophies, which is what it should be about.
Well, I also think like, I always get shouted at this take that I think a football club should serve the local community above all. Like it's
You're
a,
right.
yeah, I know, but I'm not really anymore, are you? Because you look at like Manchester United are a business now, we're an international thing, and for this, you've got to kind of look at emerging markets and all this kind of stuff. But I wish we saw less sponsorship deals and more players in kids' hospitals, and especially when we're charging 66 quid for tickets now. I hate what football has become because it's like to go and watch Manchester United, you now have to earn a lot more money than you used to, and then you turn up and you see Rashford.
Wrong.
Yeah, you see Rashford doing F all, and you're like, why am I paying for this? And Agile Beast is saying if Fergie was Rashford and Greenwood's manager, things could have ended up differently. I mean, does anyone remember Mads Tim?
Yeah, he was a winger. I saw a story about him. They reckon he could have been as good as Giggs or better, but he got injured, didn't he? Didn't he get injured?
No,
Oh, I got it wrong. I'm thinking of another one.
no, that's the right player, but he didn't get injured. He got caught drag racing in Tesco's, like illegal street races.
Oh, okay.
And obviously Sharpie and Giggs, when they were younger, they had their unprofessional incidents. But I think what Fergie did that I always think is really, really cool is that when he saw the money that was coming into the game, instead, like he used to ask players what their grandparents did. And that's how he kind of got them to connect. Beckham's granddad was like, I don't know, a lamplighter or something in London, like in Victorian times.
It was quite clever, wasn't it? You got to know the family. You got to speak to them as human beings rather than assets.
Yeah, he was. I mean, we always say Fergie is a manager, but I always got the impression Fergie was actually more of a kind of director of football. Like, he seemed to let, like Carlos Queiroz and things manage and train the team and stuff like that. And he was involved in everything else, but we miss him so badly. All right. Now, I'm sorry, Solo, if you're still watching, but if Arsenal come in with, let's say, 30 million, which is that the fee that you would accept, 30 million for Marcus?
Yeah.
30 million to Arsenal, would you take it?
Yeah, I would. Yeah.
No. Really? To Arsenal?
Why not? I'd take it. I'd let him go there. I would. Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you, Bartham. I'm not. He's not going to win them a league title. I'm convinced of that. So it's not going to be like when Van Persie came to United and he helped us win the league. I'm not going to.
Oh my God! A shiver is running down my spine as we have to give a guard of honour to Marcus Rashford as he wins.
I prefer him to go abroad, obviously.
Yeah.
I prefer him to go abroad. But I mean, it's 30 million pure profit. It's better than. It's like, all right, if he said Manu to Chelsea, no, I do not want that to happen whatsoever.
Yeah.
But if we've got to take 30 million for Rashford to stop that happening, of course I would.
I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, we're in financial dire straits, clearly, from what we're doing with cutting stewards and Christmas parties, M&S vouchers. It's hard times. And if Arsenal give us an acceptable offer, we have to take it. I think that it would almost be a humiliation for where we are as a football club in 14th, selling the player with the most goals to a title-chasing Arsenal. I just... You're right, we have to do it. I just hate it.
Yeah, I'll do it. But I don't think Arsenal will go for him anyway. I don't think they'll do it. Their fan base will be furious. Their fan base will go nuts.
Look, Arsenal really lack a threat on the transition. Like, they really do. And I think that Marcus Rashford is a big improvement over Martinelli.
He's much better than Martinelli, 100%. Martinelli's really dropped off. I really liked him when he first came on the team, but yeah, I don't know what's happened to him. He's got no confidence.
Well, I mean, I wish we could have this conversation on Monday because I'm a bit worried that you saying Martinelli's dropped off means like a hat-trick is coming at the weekend. An Agile Beast says, I think he only works well in a transition team, talking about Rashford. I mean, I'm wondering if I should talk about... I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do. I was going to talk about a Marxist thinker called Baudredi, who talked about how some people just think classical music is better than, I don't know, rap or something.
Oh no.
Yeah, but like, if you listen to rap music, there's a stereotype. If you listen to classical music, there's a stereotype. I hate the fact that the stereotypes apply to transitions and long balls as if they're not parts of football. Like, personally... Yeah, well, I hate tiki-taka. I absolutely hate it. I hate playing it. I hate watching it. It's not for me. I quite like long ball football.
No, but that's why Arsenal used to frustrate me, because I was like, all right, they're a good team, but I'd be watching them back in the day. I'd be like, do they want to pass it into the net? Like, it would annoy me as well. I think a good football team mixes it up a bit. You don't just play one way. You're able to do all of it.
I remember my like on one side of my family, we have quite a lot of Rangers fans, and Messi came out after, I think Rangers might have beaten or drawn with Barcelona in Europe, and he described it as anti-football. And I mean, for me, Barcelona are basically the Scousers of Spain. Like, I really don't like them.
I think they've had a lot of favourable decisions from referees, especially when that season when we played them for the second time. Nah, this was the first final we had against them, and Chelsea should have won it, but they got
Yeah,
all the. That was a disgrace. That was.
I watched that. I was in Spain when that happened, and it was unreal watching that Chelsea game. Um, Sterling has not played at all. I actually used to quite like Raheem Sterling as a footballer. I'm very surprised he hasn't got Martinelli out of the team. Not a fan of Sterling?
Nah, not really. He's not a bad player. I don't know. I prefer players who can do a bit more. I feel like he scored a lot of goals for Man City because there were a lot of them were tap-ins. But then you see him at Chelsea and Arsenal, he's getting found out a little bit.
He was really good for like a couple of months at Chelsea, I feel, and then just completely tailed off. He feels a bit like a sort of a Willian or who was that funny guy with the hair? David Luiz. Yeah, like just a really odd signing for Arsenal to make. Right, possession football. Chatspot. Can you say I've lost the nuance of what you mean here with possession football, but I understand this one. Constantly running into blind alleys for the last couple of years. I won't miss this. I tell you what, they would love him running into blind alleys at Arsenal, just getting corners non-stop. All right, I have some more stories here. Let me see. Yes. Rando Kolo Muani. It's heating up. They really, really want him. Okay, tell me why you don't like him.
In the games I've watched him and I've seen him go one-on-one with the keeper, he always fluffs his lines. So I want someone clinical. If they're going to go through and goal, put it away. But obviously, I understand where the position we're in. We can't be beggars, can't be choosers. I understand that, but I don't know. Please, not Mawani.
All right. In terms of finishing, Rasmus and Xerxes, is he above or below or equal?
It's a good question. I'm not sure. I think he's one of them players. You'll have to see him in England. There's a lot of players who come to England unproven. He might even prove me wrong. I don't know. This is the thing. He might prove me wrong, and he might be a really good player for United. But from what I've seen for him at other clubs, he looks a bit like average. But,
well, I mean, he's always going to have that on his back about the miss against Emi Martinez in the final.
awful.
I mean, I know it's awful, but it's right at the end of a World Cup. I mean,
He's exhausted as well, maybe.
I think he was a sub, but I'm not a goal scorer. My thing is, Tyrone, I'm not a goal scorer, and you'll notice that I don't give a lot of grief to people who miss chances, because if I had highlights of things that I've missed, you'd think that like I had genetical defects off some of the stuff that I've done over the years. Like I've had an open goal and and the ball's hit my face because I've crashed it off a post and it's just banged into me. I know. And yeah, look, we deserve better. Is it that World Cup miss? Okay. So Tyrone saying possession football for fair players isn't improving football prospect, harbours natural ability. I will say why I disagree with this. Possession football, a lot of the time, kind of like relies on certain fundamentals. And one of the fundamentals is a counter press, which means that you need to be very, very close to your man, even on the ball. So you need to have good technicians, but also you need width in your team. So you'll see a player, like, if you think back to the FA Cup final, Chatsport, how many one-on-ones Doku had with Aaron Wan-Bissaka? Like, in possession football, you can still, I mean, in some ways, it's even set up for a winger to go at a fullback. But But
Yeah, I think he's talking about, Grealish, since he's gone to City, he's not been the same since he's had to focus on keeping the ball. I
yeah,
think I understand what he's saying. Like,
yeah, and this is the next bit: is that Grealish's job is to get the ball out wide, get as close, like to kind of commit his man, and then pass it inside. And what Jack Grealish is doing is incredibly skillful, but it's just a little bit boring.
it's very boring, but
Yeah,
it is skillful, 100%.
um, yeah, I mean, Moani has 14 goals in the last 2 years. I think we deserve better. He tore it up at Eintracht Frankfurt. I believe that's where he was. But the thing is, right, is from what I've seen of him, and the reason why I'm okay with this deal, is I think in terms of finishing ability, you're looking at Rasmus, you're looking at Xerxes style numbers. Like, Rasmus might be better in a certain position, although he's missed two good chances from those positions. Xerxes, we've seen him like. Do you remember when not Grealish, where Garnacho scored a goal and Xerxes managed to have it ruled off? You don't remember that at the beginning of the season?
No, I mean, I'm shaking my head because I was screaming. I was screaming at Ellie when he did it. No.
Yeah, and like, I mean, Xerxes missed a lot of chances. But what I think Moani gives you is I think he improves the physical dimension of the team. And
He's got pace. I'll give him that. He's quite quick.
well, I think he's got power as well. I think he can move players about. Like, for example, I don't know if you noticed, Taran, but we've seen Rashford, certainly at the start of the season, like, trying out his fullbacks. I remember he did it to Robinson at Fulham. And he tried to just see if he could, like, he's looking for a physical advantage. So he knocks it past them and goes. And he wasn't able to beat any of them. And it wasn't about pace, it was about power. It was about getting his shoulder and his hip across. And Rashford has never built his body properly. Like, he's a very unbalanced player. Like, very similar to Garnacho, actually. A player that is constantly off balance. And when I look at Moani...
He does a lot of work. It shocks me with Rashford because you see all the PR training he does. You think he'd be doing it properly, but he's not.
Well, like Chatsport said, Moani is better than our current forwards. I kind of agree, actually, because I think he gives you more off the ball, and 99% of what happens in a football match is off the ball.
Yeah.
12 goals, 6 appearances in 44. Yeah, they're not good stats. If I'm signing a 26-year-old, I want a proven goal scorer.
He's right. I think he's right.
Well, how old was Firmino when he went to Liverpool?
I think Firmino was 24 when he went to Liverpool. I might be wrong.
He wasn't a proven goal scorer, and he didn't score any goals at Liverpool.
Firmino was there to help the forwards get goals. He's more of a team player.
Yeah.
He's basically what Xerxes was supposed to be, isn't he?
Look, I don't know what Xerxes was supposed to be. I thought it was about third man combinations for through balls. I mean, like, recently, I'm sure people have noticed, but Mr. B is really now in the Xerxes camp. I don't know why, but Mr. B loves Xerxes at the moment. How do you feel about it?
I'd rather have him up top than Højlund. That last performance against Liverpool with Højlund. He's one-on-one with the keeper, has a shot, and it's just like, you've got to hit it with a bit more conviction than that. Come on, lad,
I think he hits it with too much conviction myself.
Vita.
Yeah, I think he's more concerned about striking the ball cleanly rather than scoring the goal.
Good shout.
Do you know what I mean? Like, strikers are always scruffy players. Like, remember those comments Keano made about Haaland being like a League Two player? All the best strikers, like, well, not all of them. Like, obviously, R9 and Ronaldo have immaculate touches, but Cole didn't have a great first touch. Inzaghi didn't have a great first touch. Batistuta, a lot worse on the ball than people remember. But they also had the ability to finish because they weren't concerned with being pretty. Like, they were concerned with scoring goals.
Andy Cole's. I don't see any Andy Cole's nowadays. He's just different gravy. It's not. There's a lot of strikers nowadays. You just think where the strikers from back in the day. You don't see them nowadays. That's what I mean. It's a shame.
Yeah, that's why I quite like Jamie Vardy. I feel he's a bit of a throwback to a different style of forward. Like, always on. Instead of coming deep to deceive the ball and linking, just constantly stretching the pitch.
And a bit like Isak, Alexander Isak, he's a bit of a throwback as well, but he actually links up as well. He's really class, that guy. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing, is that lots of people... Actually, I'll just do our Beast's comment. What do you think to that profile picture? I love that. It's got a chef on cocaine energy. That's what I always think when I see Agile Beast. I hope Amorim goes through Højlund's tape of him in the box against Liverpool. Right, Agile, I'll tell you something that I told Tyrone after the game against Liverpool. Do you remember what I said about Højlund and his movement?
Yeah, you saying he's running the channels.
Yeah, he started going near post across Van Dijk, which he didn't do in the first half, and that's how Ahmad scored the goal, because he took Van Dijk out, and for some reason Trent was defending man for man instead of zonally, and it went across. I think that Amorim, someone had to have given Højlund that instruction, because he did it every time. And maybe, I do think that there could be something in Højlund. When you bring up Isak was a very raw player when he went to Newcastle. He wasn't ready for top four, but he's developed into, he's developed into a great player now. Like, you've got to think that, he's up there. Yeah, I mean, I know people aren't excited by Chris Wood and stuff like that, but Isak would be the player most people would sign as their striker from the Premier League this season. But a bit like Ollie Watkins.
Not bad at all, though. He's going to get you goals.
Yeah, but it's more like the flair of Isak is something that you like more. But I look at Rasmus and I see minor improvements, minor things, but nothing fundamental. And I used to look at Isak and thought that he just ran in straight lines, which is always quite easy to defend. Now you see him moving on diagonals, like you see him out on the wing, coming across players, drawing fouls, or even like, do you see where he shoved an Arsenal player to get 5 yards?
Yep.
Yeah, you see Rasmus. Rasmus is just like on fucking WrestleMania half the time. He's trying to get as close.
What I don't like with Rasmus, what I don't like is when the ball's played into him. That, like, sometimes I see the touch, it bounces off him so badly. I'm like, God, get it under control.
Yeah.
That's why Xerxes, obviously he's got his faults, but I like him technically. With Xerxes, I'm won over by like how technically good he is and the way he spreads the ball out and stuff. He's got a lot of techers.
But, the chat sport is saying natural finishers know where to move. I still think it can be coached, but I do agree with you. There is, to me, as a footballer, there's something alien about goal scorers. I don't like when you're in like a position as a midfielder. There are some players you play with, and that they've kind of like created a space for you to hit the ball. Like Cavani was very like that. You could see these. It's like the space was simmering, waiting for you to put it there. And with Rasmus, his movement is so appalling. Like, he never slows down, gets his defender to slow down, and then goes. Like, when I think that when you're in midfield and you've got striker, you want the striker to be making the defender react. But with Rasmus, they're just following him. There's no subtlety. It's just frustrating for me.
My problem with Rasmus is if you're an opposition defender, you're not going to see the team shirt, see his name and think, oh God, I'm going to have a hard game. That's the problem I have with him.
Yeah, I know, but if I were to say to you last season that, like, that McTominay was the player you didn't want to see on the Manchester United team sheet, you'd have all had a hissy fit at me. Maguire's movement for the missed chance was good. Yeah, but what Maguire did, Agile, that was really good is he didn't stop. He slowed. I know, Maguire can go even slower. And that is what bought him, like, the yards. And for me, yeah, okay, should get it on target, but it's a really poor pass. I'd be disappointed in myself.
I don't know why he bobbles it to him. I don't get that at all. That really annoys me. Yeah.
It's like Özil used to do this pass, and I've tried it, and I've never been able to kind of do it the way that Özil did it, where he sort of bounced it. He hit really hard into it, and it bounced up. And like, I mean, I've done it a couple of times by luck, as it were. Like, I was trying to do it, but I can't do it consistently. And I did it in a training session for a striker, and they just went mental at me, saying that was the worst pass ever. And Xerxes should have more pride in his passing there. It's just not good. But Maguire, I think, also as an international footballer, who I think is technically pretty good, he should be at least getting it on target.
I think if he gets it on target, I think they block it anyway.
Yeah, but that's okay. That's okay because he's got it on target. Could be a handball. Could be anything. Like, just first thing, get it on target. Chatsport likes Chris Wood. Averaged 12 a season at Burnley in the Premier League. And look, I think Kyle Walker and Trippier were... Well, Trippier was at Burnley, wasn't he? Like, get some decent players. Yeah, Trippier definitely was at Burnley. Xerxes is dreadful. If that's our level, we're going nowhere. Erasmus too. I mean, I can't disagree with this because I often think, you know, who I'd like to play with as a midfielder, and I don't want to play with Xerxes, who can't score open goals, man, and Rasmus, you can't trust him with the ball.
I think someone like Rasmus, I know it probably won't happen. Someone like him needs to go to the Championship for a season. Needs to learn his trade there. He's not ready for Premier League football.
Like Ahmad.
Ahmad, yeah, he needs to do what Ahmad did. He's been handed so much so soon. I mean, he's been handed the number 9 shirt as well. He doesn't deserve it yet. Or is it the 11? The 11, isn't it? None of them deserve it. They need, especially Højlund. He needs to go down a league and learn.
Yeah, but we're paid 70 million. Like, we just can't do that.
Why. I don't understand why though.
Well, he was he moved to Ten Hag's agency. Højlund just runs into Van Dijk and Konate for Martinez's goal. He could have stopped his run, be open for the cutback. Yeah, I agree. I think that Højlund's movement in the box has to be much, much better. Xerxes pass, the striker would keep it on the floor. Oh, yeah, man, Jermaine Defoe. And also, like, obviously me and like Tyrone have big connections to the northeast of England. Defoe at Sunderland, like, turned himself around as a person as well with Bradley, that poor little boy that. Yeah. Like, I love Jermaine Defoe. Like, I loved him as a striker, and I think as a person he's wonderful. And I mean, we had something a little bit similar with Maguire. Made friends with a little boy called River. And when we go back to talk about how football clubs should ultimately serve the local community, I'd love kind of more of that at Manchester United. And Defoe, I felt Defoe was that kind of guy. I've got a huge amount of time for Jermaine Defoe.
He played for Man United a few times as well. Defoe. He never went for him.
Well, he wasn't good enough to play for Manchester United at the time. Like, he just didn't do enough outside of the box. But that was the standard that we were at. He'd walk into our team now. Which are better. Erasmus is low on confidence and ingenuity. Is that a product of him lacking confidence? Because in my experience, when players actually kind of try and do too much when they're low on confidence. Like, they don't, like, you want to stick to the fundamentals when when you're not
Maybe
playing well.
Ragnar is one of them players who's just been coached too much. Mate, he's quite mechanical, isn't he? There's no kind of like with the word ingenuity. I think he's thinking like there's no genius in him. No, nothing like it's out of the ordinary. That's the way players are now.
Look at this, boring lads. Show your face and sound like you want to be there. Um. Yeah. I think he's talking about me. I'm going to ban you. I hope you enjoyed your time here. Lend him to Carrick. Middlesbrough. He was brilliant. I like Carrick as a manager, to be honest.
You didn't like him as a player as much.
No, I didn't like him as a player, and I still don't like him as a player. Watch any European game. Watch Michael Carrick. Dreadful. He's the reason that we talk about prime Barcelona and not prime Manchester United. He was bloody dreadful in Europe. Like as a midfielder, you look at the positions, how easy he was to pull out of the block. No, not for me.
I was cussing him in some games. Looking back, I did cuss him a lot. He just didn't put his foot in enough for me. I liked the way he used to intercept the ball and read the game, but he wasn't physical enough for me.
No, he didn't read the game well. That was his problem. Like, for me. But I understand that, like, obviously Carrick contributed a huge amount towards United and people love him. But I would say that he's the most overrated player in Manchester United's recent history. I was never a fan of him. The irony in that comment. What, from Muttley? Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Well, it's all right. Look, people are entitled to their opinions, but I've got a very easy button where I can just tell them to shut up, and they can't speak anymore. So, I don't know. Erik ten Hag has left the jigsaw without a picture to make it. We need to shut off half the signings. Yeah, I mean Yorkshire Cowboy. I don't know if you know this, but since Alex Ferguson left Manchester United, 1 out of every £3 that we have spent was spent by Erik ten Hag. Yeah. And that is why we are in such a dismal, dreadful situation, because of our recruitment. I mean, like, you look back, do you remember what them players Ollie was linked with?
It's not even about Ollie, it's all the players LVG signed, all the money wasted with Mourinho. It's just been endless cycle. They've just been so desperate to get to the top by spending money. We've just wasted a lot.
And then the real shame is...
Sorry, go on.
The real shame is that it's match-going fans that have to pay for it now. Like, you know, like I know people get excited about transfers, and I'm not massively into transfers. I like watching football. I don't like, you know, say if we get Carrick, Shifvelia in, we're gonna, you know, top four is on lockdown or whatever people say. I just, when I look at the prices, I just think that we're crazy in what we pay. Crazy.
I've seen so many good players come to United now, and it's not worked out. Like Di Maria, Pogba, so many exciting signings, and it's actually made us worse. And I've realised that signing the star names isn't what Man United need to do now. We need to sign players and build them up, like what we used to do. We need to stop going for these like Galactico type signings. So hopefully,
I mean, it's understandable though, isn't it? Like when we were finishing in the top four or something like that, you've seen players like Luis Suarez come in and make a 20-point difference, and you always think that you need like one player can kind of take you up. But for me, what we did is, I don't know if I'm too influenced by social media here, but I obviously have a massive disdain for lots of channels that talk about ballers because they don't know the first thing about what happens in a football match, and they think it's all about dribbling, it's all about half turns. Those are not important in football. What's important is physicality, work rate, determination, and like discipline, like sticking to your man, doing the basics and stuff like that. And I feel that what we were doing was we were signing players like Casemiro, Eriksen, Sancho, and we never had a base. Like, as much as everyone hates them, McFred gave us a decent base in the middle of midfield of all those things. And now that base is gone, and you can see how you just need henchmen and lumps and water carriers in your team. And obviously you want them to be at the standard of, say, Rodri and Stones, who, like, them boys win more headers than you would believe. But when they go, City are absolutely there for the taking. And, you know, you look at someone like Gravenberch, not a wildly exciting player, or Joel Linton, not a wildly exciting player, but their ability to raise the physical level of their team gives other players like Isaac a base. And for me, with Manchester United, we have not recruited athletes, and that is the big problem, is that we need players that are available, that can run around, that can win 1v1s, and if they don't win a 1v1, they can recover space. You know, they can get back and things like that. And I feel that because we went after these flair players, these ballers, that this is what you get. You get 14th.
Pogba was definitely. I keep going on about Pogba, but it wasn't the right signing, was it? Let's be honest. So many signings that have gone wrong. Like Anthony, 80 million. Ridiculous. I backed him at the beginning, but it hasn't come good for him. I backed him for so long, but
this kind of plays into what Yorkshire Cowboy is talking about. What the F? That's a ridiculous stat. But then you look at Anthony and Højlund are, let's just say that they were 150 million. They were 80 and 73 or something like that. I'm not sure, but 150 million, I think, is about 10% of our total spend in the last 12 years.
That's nuts.
Is it 1.5 billion we've spent since Fergie left? Yeah, so we're looking about 10% of that was spent on Anthony and Rasmus, and my word, what were we doing? Jose should have stayed. He'll have built United well on the pitch. I think Jose had to go, but for me it's the Perisic signing. He really, really wanted Perisic, and he was turned down. And he was building towards something. I don't know if it would have worked, but the only manager that has broken 80 points since Sir Alex Ferguson was Jose Mourinho with 81 points. And you'd bite your hand off for 75 at the moment.
I think, in hindsight, I think LVG, if we kept him. Well, obviously, we didn't make top four, and I was saying, we need to get rid of him. But I should have been more patient. We should have stuck with him.
Tyrone, do you remember that Christmas?
Yeah.
That December. I love Christmas. It's my favourite time of the year. I love drinking. I love ice skating. I love lights. I love the Muppets Christmas Carol. All of it. The joy drained out of me from Louis van Gaal. No, not for me. But we'd serve better after Barcelona. We have the worst financially run club in the world. I kind of think Chelsea might be... I don't know what's going on with Chelsea, but you get the impression that that might all come crumbling down. But when you say that two players, Rasmus and Anthony, represent 10% of your spend over the last 15 years, I can't disagree with that. Delap from Ipswich, 20 million tops, Fergie's rule. Buy the best around for what you can afford. Stop buying foreigners who don't understand the pressure of United. Well, I mean, Delap came from Delap came from Manchester City, and it's been reported that certainly in Lavia, when he was at Southampton, there's a clause in some contracts where they have to sell more if they sell to United, Arsenal, Chelsea, something like that. Fergie also was a little bit hamstrung by the Glazers. Do you remember all that stuff about no value in the transfer market?
But with Fergie, it's hard for me to have any sympathy for him because he endorsed them. So,
at one point in pre-season, not pre-season, in international break, one of the questions we were going to have as a sort of a conversation topic was if you could change one thing in football history related to Manchester United and outside of Manchester United, what would it be? And I think I might change it that Fergie got sacked and that the Irish boys remained in charge. 'Cause I think we might have been all right.
I think so. I don't know. I don't know. It's like even when Ferguson left, like I know he's an intelligent guy, but you want a manager to come in and replace you, but you decide David Moyes is the one you want to replace you. I don't know what you're playing at now. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm really having a go at him, but I'm not asking the question.
I don't know. I mean, like, look, Fergie tried for years before cracking it. Webb, Phelan, Donaghy, like in the centre of the pitch. I presume that this is. I'm unfortunately I'm United after Ferguson, not before Ferguson. History wasn't my favourite subject. I got to be honest. The Glazers said in 2015 they wanted to be like Real Madrid and sign Galacticos. How far off the mark were they? I mean, I believe Real Madrid a couple of years ago had to sell their training ground in the centre of Madrid because of the Galacticos policy that they were close to bankruptcy, and obviously General Franco wasn't around to bail them out. Political.
But that was silly as well. The Galacticos thing with Madrid, they weren't successful at all.
No, they weren't. I think did they win one league title? I know Beckham did with Capella.
Yeah, I think that was it. I think they won a league title together. Because R9 didn't win a champion. R9's never won a championship yet.
No.
He's never won.
Rest in peace, Reyes. Reyes scored 2 goals. Like, rest in peace. That's an awful shame. We said better. I got sick of Mourinho throwing players under the bus. His football's stagnating, and his super ego is very off-putting. We needed to sign Mourinho directly after Ferguson. I could not agree more. Mourinho was the man that I would bring in. And obviously the Irish boys called McManus and Magnier. All right. We've done 1 hour and 12 minutes. I think that is more than enough. If you give me 1 second, I'm going to link you to another channel here, which is Botswana Pappy and Football Power Hour. I'm going to warn you, you're not going to get sensible opinions or anyone who really has an understanding of a football match, but it's very entertaining, and I'm a huge fan of Botswana Pappy. So go there and say you're from the United Agenda. And Tyrone, where can we find you?
Seaside 2018 and Tyrant_87 at Instagram. If you want to come say hello there.
All right, wicked. Have you enjoyed tonight?
I have. It's been a good discussion. Thanks for having me as usual. It's always a pleasure.
No problems. And like,
support as well. I respect that.
Wicked. And maybe at some point we'll have something creative to show these guys in chat through a little bit
definitely.
Save the Cat, innit?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, thank you so much to everyone that's watching. I really hope that you enjoy your weekend. I don't know about watch-longs and all that stuff, but we'll have a reaction for the Arsenal game. So go and say hello to Pappy and enjoy your weekend, boys.